because of my faith, I know that God has created me for a purpose on purpose. And it's not going to be all those other authors. So I have to stop comparing myself because I'm only me. There's nobody, I can't copy anybody else. So why am I trying to waste my time doing that? Because it doesn't help.
Welcome to Write About Everything. I'm author Karolyn Kearney, and I write stories for early readers through adults. I started this podcast because I really love the conversations that take place before and after the final draft. This is where we explore the courage to begin, the creativity to continue, and the reinvention that often surprises us along the way. Hi, I'm author Karolyn Kearney, and welcome to Write About Everything, where I visit with writers and authors about their writing goals, their aspirations, and the unique paths that brought them from their very first story to this point. Today, I welcome fellow author Lisa Galdos. Lisa retired from a career as a court administrator and lawyer and began writing her Big Hugs for Kids, Learn and Move series. She writes for children's ages 3 through 7, although her books can be enjoyed by kids of all ages. Lisa now lives in Arizona, deepening her faith, writing the rest of her series, and maintaining a healthy and active lifestyle. Welcome, Lisa. I'm so glad you're here.
Good morning, Karolyn. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time to share big hugs and Cammie with everybody.
Fantastic. So, Lisa, we're going to just jump right in.
Okay, great.
And let's see here. So, Lisa, you spent years as a court administrator and a lawyer before turning to writing.
Yes.
What shifted in you that made storytelling feel like your next chapter?
Well, thank you for asking. As a lawyer and a court administrator, I was very linear thinking. There was some creativity, but for the most part, it was pretty linear. And so then when I retired, I was like, oh, maybe I'll try something fun and different, like using my creative side, which I didn't know I had. So I had time. And the way this really all started, and I don't know if you mind me jumping right in, but back in 2020 during COVID, a very dear cousin who was also a sister to me passed away from ovarian cancer. And her tagline to end any conversation or a text was always big hugs. So that's kind of how the big hugs came about, because I started a YouTube channel in 2020 to be with my kids, my grandkids who lived in California. And so I would do exercise. That was kind of the premise of the book. I would go to the different United States or the different states in my courtyard, and I would do a big hug to represent something unique about that state, to honor my cousin and to just do something, what I might call productive during COVID. And that's kind of how this morphed into books. It was more of just something to do, something to be creative, something to get the kids off their devices, learn about the United States, and tie something unique about a state to a symbol or a move to reinforce learning, if you will. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of how
that's
it started.
What a fantastic idea for a series. So, how many books have you written so far based on this series?
So Cammie, as you can see, is my flamingo. She's my main character. And I had a little, what do you call it? Like a prototype. My ex-daughter-in-law's mother made this for me. So Cammie is traveling across the United States, and I have published 4 books. So this is book 4. And book 5 is now in the works. So hopefully by the end of sometime in 2026, I'll get book 5 out. And then I have, as you can see, the United States has, the 50 states. And if I do 3 states a book, that's quite a few more books to go. So my goal is to have it done within the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that you have a goal,
Yes.
and I love that you've planned out how many years it may take to accomplish it.
Yes.
That really shows me that you're dedicated to this.
Yeah. Well, I want, because I have to be, what's the word I want? Aware of other people that are involved. I can't do these fantastic illustrations. All I do is write. So I have to, get the publisher involved and the illustrator involved. And so I want to be respectful of their time and not say, okay, tomorrow I want everything done, because if there's as there's a process to it. So, and I figure I don't want to put pressure on myself or anyone else. Hurry, hurry, hurry. I just have a lot of fun going to the different states. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So, the United States, everybody, it's fairly large with the 50 states. I decided not to go alphabetical because I didn't want those that, lived in Wyoming to realize, it would be at the end of the journey. So I just decided to go, east, west, north, south, and kind of pick and choose. So, for example, in this book 4, which I just happen to have, I went, the reader goes to California on the west, Oklahoma in the middle, Midwest, and then New York on the East Coast. And so each of the characters has a little symbol by them. The train, the surfboard, and the horse. And each of those represent something unique. I tried to find something unique about the states to expand everybody's learning, the reader and the child, because they're intended for children 3 to 7. But as parents or teachers or grandparents read to the kids, hopefully they're learning and moving and interacting with the book the way that I'm hoping the child does, or the children. So in this book, New York, the train represents Grand Central Station, which is the largest, has the most the train tracks in the United States. So people are aware of Grand Central Station, but they may not know that little hidden tidbit. So I try to find something unique to, I don't know, pique curiosity, and maybe people will, whoa, I didn't know that. And then hopefully the train ties them to New York, that associates it with the learning, if that makes sense. So,
No, that
yeah.
does. I love
So
that. I
my
love how you
my
find
fun
something
part is
unique.
going in and finding unique facts about the different states. So in book 1, I started with Connecticut and the lollipop, and I also try to do things that I think would be fun for kids 3 to 7, right? And
Hmm.
so the lollipop was invented in Connecticut, and it was named after a racehorse. So with the lollipop, then we do the swirl. So there's moves then that will be tied to. So my goal was, okay, let's have some fun. And I'm usually up moving, but you could do it seated like I am, and you're just swirling around. And that's what I call the swirl, because it represents a lollipop that was invented in Connecticut. So and so I have fun trying to figure out how to do that move. I mean, the swirl was pretty easy, but some of them I'm like, how does that work? So that's kind of my process.
I love that. I love that you put something physical, an activity in with the learning. That's really unique. I love that.
Yeah. And my goal was, when I started this back in 2020, when I was doing the YouTube, and I still have my YouTube channel, Big Hugs for Kids, and you can get, if you go, you can see that, like when I went to um, California, I would first start with a fun fact, and then I would do 3 big hugs for that state. So they're a little bit longer. They're about 6 or 7 minutes, but they're different
Yeah.
moves. And so again, you learn something. And so I wanted the movement because, we all have a tendency to stay too long on our phones or our computers or our Switches, Game Boys, whatever. And so I wanted a chance for young and old, kids and all of us, to move. And as I've had some health issues over my lifetime. And so getting the mind, body, and spirit all together was very important to me. And that's kind of the theme of this book. I mean, it's fun, but there's also the body, because you're moving. the mind, because you're learning, and then the
Mm-hmm.
heart or your spirit, because Cammie's motto is you be you. You be whoever God created you to be. You move however you want to move. If you want to sit and do the swirl, great. If you want to run and do the swirl, that's, and so that's kind of the idea behind the movement part of it.
So it appears obviously that you do a lot of work in preparation for your books.
Yes.
There's a lot behind it. So what's the first thing you do when you decide, okay, it's time for me to go ahead and begin my next book for my series? What's the first thing that you do?
So what I had done at the very, very beginning was a lot of this initial prep because I had gone to this, I looked at the map and I said, okay, first of all, I mean, I've already pretty much planned out which states are going to be in which book because I wanted to try again to cover, you know, somewhat of the United States, not just all here, all okay. So that was kind of my first step in saying, okay, so book 4, I kind of knew these were the states. And so what I do now is I'll go, okay, so book 6 um, is is now in the hopper, if you will. So I'm like, okay, those are my states in book 6. Once I confirm those, and because I go back, because I did this, years ago. And so now I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
let's make sure I'm still getting myself across the states kind of. That's what I want, in a system, if you will. So
Yeah.
I go back and I review those. But let me also say when I mean, I may have overthought this, but I also went and looked at the different colors of the background of the book. So you can see this one's purple. I
Hmm.
don't have any of the other ones in front of me, but this is the hard copy of books 1, 2, and 3. So you can see book 1 is blue, green, orange, and then purple. Because my other thought was not only are- is and the children and the adult reading, learning about the states, but they could be learning about color. They could be learning about the shape of the state. They could be learning that the state is spelled out on their little sashes, but also the abbreviations of the state on their hat. So just looking at the front cover, as a teacher or as a parent, you can teach a lot off just the cover, and that was kind of my goal too. And sorry, long-winded answer to your question, but so I did a lot of this before I could even because when I first started, I said, okay, I'm just going to jump in. I'll pick 3 states. Well, my other goal is I don't want to repeat the big hugs. Okay. So if
Hmm.
I've done the swirl, I don't want to do a swirl again. If I don't want to do a hop again because I really want my goal is that people were like, oh yeah, hop. Oh, that's the frog that was in Georgia as their symbol, as their reptile symbol. Okay. So if I do hop so many times, it gets confusing and that's not my goal. So once I've kind of locked down the states for the next book or the next several books, then what I'll do is I'll go on the internet and try to find unique facts. Okay. I don't make these up. I mean, I would like to dig a little deeper in the state if I can. So rather than, doing something to represent the Golden Gate Bridge, for example, in California, which most people are familiar with, I went and found that surfing is the state sport, the official state sport. Okay, so that's why there's a surfboard with California. So then, so once I find that unique fact, then I think to myself, okay, how do I move? What move am I going to create to represent that fun fact or that unique fact? And then I'm like, and so sometimes that's where it gets tricky because it's like, I have no idea how I would do this. And I'm like, okay, so I kind of play around with that for a while because I don't want to make it too complicated
Yeah.
and I wanna make it fun, and I don't wanna make it, too long, okay? The
Mhm.
move too long, or because it's also I have to think about the illustrator. How is the illustrator going to illustrate the moves, in the book? And how am I gonna explain it? Because I do give diagrams. I do, um, have it, like, in Oklahoma, so there's, like, they can practice, and so I do explain what it is, but again, I wanna try to make it simple. So, if I can't think of something, and I will share it with my husband, and he just laughs at me, but or I'll go to the mirror and or share it with my friends or family. But if I can't figure it out, then I try to find another fact that might be easier to move. So there's a lot of moving pieces because again, I don't with 50 states, that's 50 different what's the word I want? Nouns or adjectives, like dig. And so then I have a list of, okay, pull, dig, swirl, hop. And then then I try to say, okay, can I fit one of those in to the fact? So it's a process. But it's fun because it's like, okay, because it really tests my creativity and it kind of pushes me. So
Well, I think some people assume that you just come up with an idea for a book and you just write it.
yeah,
And then before you know it, it gets published. I don't think people realize that it is really a full-time job.
can be.
You're doing this, I'm assuming full time. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of research, a lot of creativity, and a team.
Yeah.
So you have a team, obviously. So tell me about your team. Tell me how difficult was it to get your team, which would be your publisher, illustrator, if you use beta readers, whoever else you may use. So tell me about that. How is that working with the team, and how hard was it to put these people together?
So I will say that putting when I started to write, I just wanted to write. I didn't even think about publishing, editing, marketing, none of that. I was like, okay, I just because like I said, I started with the YouTube channel and it was so much fun and I'm like, "Oh, I can just put this into words," right? And when you my the stories for children 3 to 7, there's not a lot of text. So there's not a lot of
Yeah.
words. So I that's another challenge in and of itself. As you can tell, I like to talk, to try to minimize it so the whole page isn't, because kids like to see illustrations and colors and all of that.
Yeah.
So when I started to realize, well, if I want to take this beyond my room and share it with others, I would need to professionalize it, if you will. So I needed to find my first thing was to find an illustrator. And because I use an application called Pro Writing, which I can put the words into Pro Writing and it will tell me it's basically an editor. Okay, so it tells me the length of the sentences, it tells me my grammar. So it does a lot in the editing side of it for my simple, text. So my
Mhm.
main focus was the illustrator because I can't draw at all. So I went
Yeah.
to Upworks, which is I don't know, a platform online that you can go and hire wonderful
Okay.
people to do illustrating, animation, graphic design, you name it, they're there. So I went there, found my illustrator, my first illustrator, and then when it was time for us, she had other things she needed to do, which was fine because this is 3 to 5 year, maybe longer project commitment.
Yeah.
So, and she was great. She did the first 3 books and she is wonderful. And she's an artist and it was just a lot of fun to work with her. So then I just went on Amazon and self-published. And then I
Mhm.
realized, yeah, I can't do this. It, all of that stuff it took away from the fun because then it became you know, something I didn't want to really learn. I just wanted to write it. So then I had gone to a book fair, a few years ago and met a gal, Lacey from Pandemonium Publishing. She's out of Canada, but her and I
Oh,
connected, and so now she does my, publishing, illustration, helps me with my marketing, and then, um, where I first met you at the Payson Book Fair a couple years ago, you introduced me to your daughter, Claire, who is doing my social media. Love Claire. Thank you, because again, that's not my forte. I mean, the whole technical pieces of it, I struggle with. So it's been a process because teams will come and go and people have other things to do because again, it isn't a one and done book. It is,
yeah.
you know, 17 or 18 at the end of the day. So, I'm very fortunate, I'm very blessed to have such angels on earth to help me get this from my brain out to the to the world. So, it's fun to work with a team, and it's also challenging because sometimes, they need things from me sooner maybe than I'm ready to do. So, but it's great. I love my team, and they're fantastic, and I couldn't do it without them. And I never wanna disappoint them, so I'm trying to be, again, respectful of, not wanting it yesterday.
So tell me, as a full-time author, what has been your greatest challenge?
Um, I I will say my greatest challenge is, um and I have to say first, I'm not full-time, because I am
Okay.
retired, and so I don't put the pressure on myself to have it all done tomorrow. So, I the challenge I have is to make myself do it. I mean, I just like, we block out time to do this podcast. I have to block time to do my books because I have always been where I need time. I want like 2 or 3 hours. And sometimes it's hard to find 2 or 3 hours between, retirement things, medical appointments, whatever. Um, And so I'm having to tell myself, even if you have 20 minutes, just, jot down something. But I know myself. And once I get involved and it starts to become fun, then I'm like, oh, I got to keep going. So I say that's my greatest challenge is just time management.
Mhm. So what advice would you give to somebody who also struggles with that, who wants to sit down and start writing, but they just can't get to it?
Yeah.
Or they sit down to do it and they're
Yeah.
blocked. They kind of know what they want to write about, but they just don't really know how to get started. What would you tell that person?
Um, I would, first of all, if, which I'm telling them as I'm telling myself, is like you make appointments to do things anyway, right? We made an appointment to do this podcast. You're going to make an appointment to go to the dentist. You're going to make an appointment to go play, pickleball or whatever. So I'm trying hard this year as part of a New Year's resolution. I know it's late in the year, but to just set aside time. I mean, just to make myself an appointment. Make an appointment with myself and call it big hugs. I'm gonna now, whether it's a half an hour, or an hour, um, because I think once I can do that, then it just becomes a habit, right? And so
Hmm.
that's what I would suggest to just w block the time and make an appointment with yourself to do your writing. If you're stuck, um, I'm trying to think back when I for me, I would stop and say, "Okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it for me? Is it because somebody's telling me I have to? Or am I feeling pressure that I have to do this? I mean, what is it? Why am I blocked?" And I'll be honest, I pray. I pray a lot, to ask for guidance and because maybe it's not the right time to sit there, or maybe the topic is not right for some reason, and so I try hard not to beat myself up and just let it evolve. And if I sit there and I can't and I'm stuck, I just walk away, But I have that luxury because it's not um I'm doing this for fun. I'm not doing it for a career. So I think that takes some of the pressure because I think if you're trying to do it for career, you might get too someone might get too absorbed into I have to, I have to, I have to, and then that blocks
Mhm.
out what you need to hear, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. I know, there's been many times where I've sat down to start writing and I nothing comes out, nothing sounds right. I wonder, "What am I doing?" And I think that's common with a lot of people, is things happen and they get blocked, and what I like to do is I do what you do. I sometimes just walk away, go get a coffee, and then sometimes I focus on other aspects of writing. Maybe I'll look at a podcast, which will inspire me, or I'll do a quick 10-minute workshop, or look at Instagram or Facebook or other social media that features writers and their work. I just kind of I think it's good to get out of your own head
Yes.
sometimes,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
and then come back and you have a little bit of strength. And I like how you schedule time. I think that's important, even if you don't get a lot done. As
Mhm.
long as you know I'm going to be sitting at my desk from this amount of time to this amount of time on these days. And even if I don't produce my best work, I've shown up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well, and
No,
sometimes
I
just
like
like I don't know what I'm doing, but you just start writing, you'll be surprised at how the floodgates just open. And maybe you're going in a totally different direction than you initially thought, but you just and then let it be and then come back in a couple of days and then like, "Oh, okay, well maybe I'll take that and I'll go this way." No, So, the other thing I found that helps me a lot is just go outside. Just go outside, get some fresh air, even if it's for 2 minutes, if it's too cold or too hot. I mean, here in Arizona, it can be really hot in the summer, but, just to clear my head because, again, that movement, the sunlight, the movement helps,
Mhm.
um, loosen whatever your brain needs, so I find that's helpful too.
I absolutely agree. I do the same thing.
Yeah,
I like to go out and I like to just be under the sky and just feel the sun.
right,
Yeah, no, that's all good stuff.
and just take the pressure off, if it's not the right
Yeah.
time, it's not, walk away and be productive somewhere else and, you know, you might be
Yeah,
surprised.
I think we're too hard on
Yeah.
ourselves. A lot of people, especially writers,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think do you think there's a lot of comparison between writers thinking, "Oh, I don't have all these books published like that writer that I met.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I haven't published anything," maybe they're thinking.
Yeah.
Do you think there's just a lot of comparison
I
between
I
writers?
I think and that's funny that you say that because I'll look at some of the children's books, either in the library or in Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, "Oh, look at how many they have." And then I thought I've I've stopped comparison comparing myself because part of, again, my theme in my book is you be you. And so And because of my faith, I know that God has created me for a purpose on purpose. And it's not going to be all those other authors' purposes. So I have to stop comparing myself because I'm only me. There's nobody, I can't copy anybody else. So why am I trying to waste my time doing that? Because it doesn't help. Because I don't know their journey either. I don't know. They may have all those books, but it could have taken them 20, 30 years to put all those books. And I'm just starting, maybe 2 or 3 years in. Well, then, then why I can't even, that doesn't even make sense to compare. So that's why I try not to. I'll get inspired, or but then each author is so unique in what they present and what they bring. And everything is different, even if it's just a little. I mean, there's a lot of children's books out there. but each one brings us something different or unique,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be up to the reader. When I say reader, the parent or the guardian in my case, because 3-year-olds, probably won't go buy a book. But at the same time, they'll look at the cover and they may say, "Ooh, that looks like fun." So, it just so I don't think it's a good idea for us to compare us, and we do. We do. We're human, we do, but I think that for me anyway, it wastes a lot of my energy. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So, faith obviously plays a big part in your life.
yes.
So, how does it show up in your creative processes, even in just little ways?
Um, I can tell when I'm some of the stuck, I think, is because I'm going in a different direction than maybe the Holy Spirit is leading me, and so I'm trying to jump ahead, or it's, um, not now. This is your gift, write this, but now's not the time to perhaps publish it or to perhaps market it. And I also, because I will be honest, the marketing piece is just not what I enjoy at all. And it's much more of a chore for me. So a lot of times I just say, well, I'll leave it, I will step out in faith that if this is what's meant to be, it will happen. If not, then I, again, don't beat myself up. I just, I write the stories, I write the books, and then when it's time, then I'll move forward with the publication. So,
Yeah, I think that definitely relieves a lot of stress when you feel like I'm doing the best I can and things are going to just happen because they're meant to happen
right,
in a positive way,
right,
right?
right.
Because, as women, I think we're so used to feeling like we have to control
Yeah,
everything about our lives, our careers. And yeah, there's a certain extent we do have absolute control. But then again, there's things that are beyond our control that I think if you just let it go, things will happen in a positive way, especially if you believe that they will,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And I, I had gone to a book fair, and I wasn't selling like I thought or wanted to. Um, and yet at the same time, I'm like, why are you even worried about it? I mean, it doesn't matter. And so, my local church here had gone to Brazil. And so I gave one of my friends my books because book 2 has Arizona in it. And so I thought, well, that might be fun for them. I know it's in English and, different language, but when my friend took them, she said they were so happy and they were so excited, and I mean, that's what
Um,
makes my heart sing, not, getting the royalties or anything. I mean, it's nice because then I can keep publishing, but it just warms my heart to see kids laughing and smiling and, you know, having a good time. So that if I can touch a child in that way, it's all worth it.
exactly. And it's such a beautiful thing when you realize that your books, kids who read them years from now may look back and remember them. Uh, I remember reading a book many, many years ago. I think it was in the early 70s. It was called Me and Emily and the Cat.
Okay.
And recently I was cleaning off some bins and I found that book. And I clearly I read it again. And that's been many, many years ago.
Right.
But it's funny how certain books will just stay in your heart
Yeah.
for years and years. And I believe your books are in that
Oh,
category.
thank you.
Mm,
Sweet.
I have several.
Yeah.
And I think they're just incredible. I absolutely love your books,
Thank you.
which is one reason why I wanted to visit with you. They are just really engaging and they're positive and they're fun. And I can see, I mean, me as an adult, if I'm gravitating toward picking this up from a bookstore or going through Amazon and seeing this and buying it, if me as an adult feels a pull toward these, Certainly kids definitely would as well. Um,
Thank you.
I really, really love what you've done,
Thank you. Thank you.
and
And it's interesting
I think
because I was somewhere, maybe at a book fair, and one of the people that was there, the attendees, that's where it's looking for. She picked up the Minnesota book, which is book 2 because it's Arizona, Minnesota, and North Carolina. And she's like, "Oh, I'm from Minnesota." And I said, "Oh, did you know that rollerblades were invented in Minnesota?" And she looks at me, "No." So you could see it was kind of exciting for her because it's like, oh, something. So it's always new. That's my goal, is that people can always learn at any age. And that's why I say there's a kid in all of us, even though these are just, I created them for kids 3 to 7. A lot of 3-year-olds are not reading. So it's an adult that's reading to them. And so then
right.
they're learning along the way too. So yeah, thank you. I
So
appreciate.
I have to ask you, when are you going to do Nebraska? Because I'm from Nebraska, and I'm waiting for the Nebraska version to come out.
I'm not.
I know it's in the works
Yeah.
somewhere, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure because book 5. So the other part of it, back to planning, is book 5 is the cover of the next book is in the previous book. So this is book 4. So book 5 cover is in there. So you can kind of see what's coming. So when I write book 5, I already have to have book 6 almost done because I have to have that cover. And so I have to know the state, I have to know the symbol and the colors, because the states are all different colors as well. So I try to make them, vary it up a little bit so you don't see the same color theme in book 5, so, and there's only so many colors, but so in book, so I'm not sure where Nebraska is, but I'll let you know. But what I started
Keep me posted.
but what I did is in book 5, I'm introducing a special guest. So there's going to be a special guest that's going to come and join the characters to do the big hugs. So I'm really excited about that
Oh,
because I'm hoping it helps. Um, what's the word I want? Like, pique a curiosity, or just like, oh, this is going to be fun. Who's this character? What is this character going to do? So, and that's part of the creativity because, it gets out of the norm of the book, but that's kind of, so you never know what you might find in one of my books. And then at the
I
end,
do.
to keep the learning going, I have some games and some activities for the kids to do. So I really, I really want the kids to have some fun. And yet, they may not remember, how to spell Connecticut or where Connecticut is. But over time, they might, just like you were saying with your book, there's just probably certain things of that book that just resonated and just stuck, So I'm pretty excited. So we'll see.
Well, yep, you never know the impact and how far it reaches, and
Ex-
that's one of the joys of being an author.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I have really enjoyed visiting with you, Lisa, and love your books, and I can't wait for the next ones to come out, especially Nebraska.
and I will keep you posted. Yeah.
Please, please do. Do you have any final words you'd like to give our listeners,
Just I
writers,
want to thank you,
authors?
Carolyn, for the invitation and for all the audience watching. That I am very honored that you've given Big Hugs for Kids and Cami a little bit of time to share. And real quick, I will just end with Cami. It's a flamingo that I chose because I wanted something different and unique than a dog or a bunny or a bear. Um, and then her name is from my granddaughters. I have 3 granddaughters, so the name is a combination of my 3 granddaughters. So that's how Cami came to be. So
Well, that's a great. I was going to ask you about Cami, and I kind of forgot to do
That's
that. So
okay.
thank you for bringing that
Oh,
up.
no, don't worry.
I love that the name is from your three granddaughters. That makes it really special.
Yeah, yeah. So stay tuned. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. I wish you much luck in your writing
Thank
career,
you so much.
and I
Thank
wish
you.
all
And
the viewers the best of luck as they move on and never give up. Never give up because you never know.
well, exactly. And I'm going to post links in the show notes to your
Thank
website
you.
and to your books,
Thank you.
so people out there can get to them. And thank you again.
Thank you.
And you have a fantastic day. And I look forward to seeing you at the next author event, hopefully
Sounds good.
soon.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
This has been Right About Everything, where we've had honest conversations about courage, creativity, and the craft behind the pages. Whether you're an aspiring writer or a professional author, it's your time to write. So go ahead, write about everything.